Hi guys, let me introduce you to a term that you may have heard of or may not have. It's rage farming or rage baiting. It's a tactic used by media outlets to increase traffic to their website. It's a bit like clickbait, but usually it uses something that drives people nuts or whips up anger. So GB News ran with a story which seems to be limited to other right-wing outlets like the Daily Mail and the Express about a report conducted by Climate Cymru BAME following dialogue with minority communities in Wales. The report provides recommendations to the devolved government on how to improve relations from an environmental point of view. Nothing too controversial. But one of the recommendations contained within included dog-free zones, which caused a mini-meltdown on GB News.
Now, we are not making this up. The Welsh Labour government is talking about creating dog-free zones and green spaces to make the outdoors more inclusive.
Wish we had £1 for every time we started a story saying we're not making this up. Well, it comes in response to the Senedd pledging to rid Wales of racism by 2030.
Well, to help us through this extraordinary story is Andrew R.T. Davies, who's the leader of the Welsh Conservative group.
Okay, before we begin with the meltdown, why the heck would you reach out to the Conservatives if it's the Welsh government that's implementing this plan or this project? Like, why wouldn't you reach out to somebody within the Welsh administration or somebody even within the Labour Party? Because it's the Labour Party that's in charge in Wales. Why the heck would you reach out to a Tory? You know, the Tories are not the most honest people in the world, but also there's no incentive for him to clarify this. This is terrible journalism.
Andrew, we've talked about many odd things in our time. Bev and I have read this story about 5 times. What on earth are they talking about? Why do dogs make the countryside or green spaces less welcoming to people presumably of colour?
Well, ultimately, this is the madness that is the UK, the Welsh Labour government here and some of the policies they pursue. When instead they should be dealing with the NHS and education standards, they're dealing with this type of trivial stuff that is coming up time and time again, and they're focusing all their energies on.
Do they want to? Yeah. I say, do they want to ban black Labradors?
Well, at the end of the day,
white Labradors, maybe.
Or white Labradors.
At the end of the day, no one wants to see racism in any of its forms in any part of society. But when you see documents like this that have taken a huge amount of government time, you really do understand why people get frustrated with politicians talking about issues that are completely irrelevant to their everyday lives.
What's their logic? How is having a dog-free space going to encourage people from ethnic minorities to go to the countryside?
Well, it's not going to do that, is it? But it's just another agenda item that ticks their woke agenda here in Cardiff Bay. And it's what you'll see in London now, the longer the Labour Party are in power in West.
I don't even understand their logic. The only thing that we can slightly work out from this is that I found on whyislam.org is the idea that to some Muslim people, dogs are, here we go, most scholars of Islam believe dogs are unclean. A minority believe they are pure.
Okay. This is painful, and I'll explain in a moment why. First of all, you start off by interviewing a Tory about a project or initiative that the Welsh Labour government is trying to implement, allegedly implement. And second, you're jumping to, oh, well, it's Muslims don't like dogs, so this must be the Welsh government pandering to Islam. The report, here is the report, and I'll leave a link in the description. So if we go down to the very bottom where it talks about recommendations, and you can see this line here, it says, create urban farming allotments and dog-free areas in local green spaces. Now, they hinted at the local green spaces earlier. But you can see there are a number of recommendations here. So it's one recommendation in a group of recommendations. It's not the first one, create dog-free areas because Muslims might be upset. Now, why would there be dog-free areas? We're talking about an environmental report, climate report. So it's important to have dog-free areas because in a green space, there is wildlife. I'm somebody who has dogs, and I understand this. Many people, other people who have dogs, don't respect the environment. they take their dogs into dog-free zones, which is not correct. And in many cases, they take their dogs into dog-friendly places, but they're supposed to keep them on a leash, and they do not keep them on a leash. And this upsets the environment, and it stresses out the wildlife in the area. And this is completely unacceptable. And I'm saying this as somebody who has dogs. So in a project or an initiative about protecting the environment, it's important to have dog-free zones. This is as controversial as adding something like include bicycle spaces, or limit the amount of cars that come into the area because we don't want noise and stuff for the wildlife. Include stuff like picking up litter or something like that. This is as controversial as that. Dog-free zones, dog-free areas exist all over the place. This is just something added as a recommendation. It's not a core part of, well, we need to have these dog-free zones because it might upset some people. This is, once again, GB News reaching for something that doesn't exist. And instead of actually reaching out to the Welsh government or the Labour Party, who did they invite on? A Tory who's in opposition. And what does the Tory say? Well, this is the woke agenda. How are you supposed to... Why are you punishing dogs when it comes to racism? This has nothing to do with dogs. This is about creating spaces to protect wildlife. Now, some people may say this is to do with, creating dog-free areas because some people may be afraid of dogs. That's also a valid reason, but that's nothing to do with racism. There are many people who are afraid of dogs from all ethnic backgrounds. So this, once again, is an attempt to whip up anger, whip up fury, and direct it at ethnic minorities. Look at these Muslims, look at these ethnic minorities coming over here, demanding things. Look at the Welsh government pandering to these people. This is what they're attempting to do here. And guess who shared this story? Lee frigging Anderson. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.